It's time for the Dead by Daylight reviews. Yeah. Long time, long time, long time. One, I regret to inform you that I haven't done any of the looking up of the changes that's happened. Oh, that's all fucked up. Hang on. I haven't did any look at the changes that the perk overhaul and all of that other shit that Dead by Daylight's done. So, on that same note, things that I may or may not say might still be outdated. And I don't know when anything that I say will actually be, well, not outdated anymore. So I gotta make sure I get onto their blog first. Actually, I don't like this. I'll go to the other post. This gives people to come in anyway, so I'm not too terribly worried about it. Years to develop our blog with all of the other additional things and whatnot. It has all the perks that they've updated and all of that. Now that everything's unfucked for the most part, let's hop into some of these. Probably want to open up the oh, what if they updated the perk list? Because they're really on top of that shit nowadays. Oh no. I'm not gonna be able to use this old perk list. Yeah, everything that they've updated has a purple border over it. Well, I guess I don't need the developer update notes, really. I'll use the perks instead. That's sad. I like the purple border that I did around it to show that it's changed. But fuck. I was kind of hoping that they would leave the old stuff readily available too. Like they should have just made a toggle that you can click to go back and forth between the two versions. But I guess this purple box is probably just over the original Dead Heart definition. So if it does stay, they can change it and just copy and paste. If they don't, they can just delete this box and all of it goes back to normal, which is the more efficient and smart way to do this. However, fuck. Now I have to actually remember what the other perks and things do. Other way. Done the Mother Trapper. It's basically Trapper, but you put your traps on pallets and windows. Blank Slate, I do not remember. Oh, I did. This is the one that I told that I wish they would consolidate all of their ideas and things into one post. Gotcha. I'm glad he took that advice that I gave him. Again, it's his stuff. He can put it however. It just makes it a lot easier to not have the same post. You know, I mean, like, look at that. It was ridiculous how many posts of his that were popping up. One, maybe two is fine, but when it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, that's when it's kind of like, hey, bro, you need to slow down. So I'm glad he did at least consolidate some of his stuff, which is great. Nancy Thompson Survivor concept. It's like Meg and Nancy mixed together. I don't know. Pigs get slaughtered. This is an update, but I'm not going to go and look at that again because it's been forever since I did the original. Minecraft cosmetic, we've been talking about that for ages, as you see, December 2021. New survivor idea, and there's two. Generally, I would skip them both, but I guess I can click on the top one. Oh, Lee posted one. Nice. But I guess we can look at the top one and see what this is. There's nothing here. Okay. It's literally an idea of the actual character. So you should probably be like new survivor characters description or new survivor lore. But it's not a new survivor idea because there's nothing behind it. There's no perks or anything. And to have two of these, and I assume both don't have any perks associated with them, kinda bad. A way to buff hexes. Now this is interesting. I am peeking the hell out of my mic. Let me dial that back a little bit. Yeah. Also, if you would like any type of music to be played, let me know. One, if you have a specific type, make sure it's uncopyrighted. And by I say non-copyrighted or uncopyrighted, I mean the shit that's actually just free. Free for everybody, free to use. I don't have to give any type of credit to the authors or anything like that. Because that shit's annoying when easy listening or copyright free music, and they advertise that shit as being copyright free. Yes, but when it comes to being a creator, if you don't credit every single one of the songs that come on and play during your stream, they can take monetization of your video, and that's how they make their money. It's a scam. The non-copyright music is a scam. I could understand wanting to get a shout out or some shit, but I mean, goddamn, at the beginning or the end of your fucking song, just say that this song was made by so and so we don't have to go through all 200 songs in a fucking playlist and add them to the description of our videos and shit and clog up our description with all of these fucking songs that we were using. Or consolidate the shit through whatever playlist or player that we're playing, that every song that's in a particular playlist we can just grab the names from and just drag that shit over and paste it somewhere. It is annoying using a song that claims to be copyright free and then getting a copyright claim on the video. And being like, oh, well, this video, you're not going to get a strike, but this video is going to monetize your video. And I'm like, no. Shit said it was copyright free. The fucking line, it's a scam, and anybody's content creating, don't fall for it. You always gotta credit your sources. Maple Story music is the only one that I know for a fact doesn't require any type of credit to them, and I give credit to them because they don't ask for it. Anyway, token based hexes will not be assigned a totem until the first token is earned. I mean, the token hexes generally don't expose themselves until an activation trigger is made anyway. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it is a small buff to hexes, but I mean, survivors deserve the right to be able to deactivate a hex regardless. Unless it has a specific activation like no end. You have a hex active, it should be able to be targeted. It's that simple. Just that simple. When you run a hex, you're getting a decent amount of power, to some cases a lot of power, in exchange for that being able to be disabled whenever. If you take out the activation times and all of that, that means that the killer themselves don't even have to worry about, looking for their hex totem or anything like that. That takes one factor that they have to be vigilant about out of the particular game and allows them to focus primarily on, gen patrolling, setup, if they're doing that, chases and downs and things like that. Behaviors already made the game significantly easier for killers to try to get more people to play killer. And we'll see how that goes. But I mean, Hex Undying is a thing for a reason. If they find it and break it easy, Hex Undying saves it. Undying. New Hex idea, Tainted Air. By I'm a Joke 264. You use the totems to your advantage and the air will be their downfall. All totem auras are now visible. You can now rekindle totems with this, and any other rekindling perk effects will also be applied. All totem auras are now visible to whom? You need to specify if it's to the killer, if it's to the survivors, or to everybody. Now, this is wrote. I'm assuming it's to everybody in the lobby. In the exchange that you can rekindle any and all totems. And any rekindling perk effects also being applied. Which, I mean, would be sort of balanced. They can see where every totem is. In exchange, expentimento or any other effects that you decide to come up with, you can keep using them over and over and over and over. That's sensible. It'll have to be dialed in a little bit more, but I mean, it's a sensible start. Start the trial with 3 tokens. So now it's a token perk. Gotcha. You can now light a totem, and survivors within 35-meter radius will be inflicted with a never-ending exhaustion effect until they leave the area, in which they are inflicted with exhaustion for 25 seconds afterwards. Survivors in this area also cough periodically. When a survivor is killed / sacrificed, you will receive a token. So you start with 3 tokens. The only problem that I have with this is the 35-meter radius. On most maps in Dead by Daylight, you can literally put those in 3 corners of the map and then completely encompass the entire map. However, if the auras are revealed to the survivors, then I don't see that be a huge problem. I could see somebody running like Corrupt Intervention and then going and setting up totems instead of traps, which gives the survivors, time to, do whatever they need to be done. The only time you get a token back is if you kill or sacrifice a survivor. Basically, if a survivor dies by any means, is what you should say. So if a survivor disconnects, you can get a token as well. But anyway, I can see that being an interesting perk, keeping survivors exhausted. But the 35-meter radius, you need to dial that down a little bit. 32 meters is most killers' tear radius that are, default 4.6 movement speed, meters per second, that is, movement speed. You get 32 meter tear radius that goes with that. That's fine, you know, when the killer's coming towards you and all of that, because you know within a couple of seconds the killer's going to be on top of you. But to have this and to be exhausted on top of the fact that perks like Dead Hard and all the other good perks have been changed and re-rolled and made worse in most cases, I can't say that I agree with that. Perks already got a huge nerf, so it doesn't need to be a nerfing on top of a nerfing. Granted, this was due in June 2nd, and I don't know when this patch came out for everybody, but still, I gotta go off of today's standards. Now, if you decrease the 35 meters into like, I wouldn't go any higher than 20 meters. That is 5 seconds worth of a survivor running time. But I wouldn't go any higher than 20 meters, to be honest with you. And then the exhaustion status effect being 25 seconds. Mm, nah. It doesn't go well because of the stacking. 35-meter radius, while you're in that radius, you're exhausted, then an extra 25 seconds afterwards is the price or the cost. Like if it was 35 meters and then 5 seconds, you know, after you get out of the radius, it ticks down. Just keep in mind that the exhaustion status effect does not tick down while you are running. So you have to be walking, crouching, or sitting still to make the exhaustion status effect go down. But having a lingering effect literally just makes it token fearmonger. When you're inside of the particular thing, you know, you get the fearmonger effect, or, I mean, you're not interacting with anything, but you understand what I'm saying. You get the exhaustion status effect and things like that for fearmonger, and then when you leave the radius, you got like an extra like 5 seconds or 8 seconds or whatever of backlash. So if you're being chased out of that, you're just still exhausted and really can't do anything about it. Which is why I think this should be decreased. 5 seconds worth of running from the totem center is more than enough time. That gives you 5 seconds worth of survivor running, and then an additional 5 seconds of being out, which essentially gives you 40 meters worth of your totems. That's why I said I wouldn't go any farther than 20, because that's kind of ridiculous, and then getting another 5. But even at 20, that's still pushing that envelope, you know what I'm saying? As soon as you get out of that particular totem's radius, your exhaustion status fact should basically disappear. I would probably go out to say like maybe an additional like 3 seconds being the top that you have there. Because again, 5 seconds is another 20 meters, making it a 40 meter radius if you add both of those seconds and all of that together. Effective perk. So yeah, give it like an extra 2 seconds, 3 seconds tops, like absolute tops, after you get out of that, because that's an additional 12 meters on top of the 20 meters, which makes 32 meters being the original tear radius of the killer. And then that might be more balanced for you. Making them cough periodically isn't important at all. That's just some flavor text added in. Get rid of it. Getting a token off of every killer sacrifice, fine. Completely fine. This particular thing is going to significantly slow down both the killer and the survivor, because the killer is losing an entire perk slot. And like I said, if the auras of the totems are revealed to all survivors at all times, then that means any and all hex perks that you run with this particular build are going to be shown too. So this is kind of an all or nothing type thing, you know. This is a standalone hex that you can use. Obviously, it's a token perk, so Hex Undying will not work with this perk either. If this shit gets destroyed, it'll rekindle and you'll have 0 tokens. So you'll have to kill somebody or sacrifice somebody in order to get everything back. So Hex Undying will not work with this either. So this perk is basically by itself. You technically have 3 tokens. And again, at the start of the trial, survivors can see all totems. So if there's booners, you have to worry about that shit. And if there's not, they might just go ahead and break all the totems and then completely get away with, or completely, you know, send that shit. Yes, you may be able to rekindle totems and things like that, but they're also going to be exposed. So they're going to know exactly when you rekindle a totem and exactly where it's positioned at. So they can just walk over and re-break that shit and continue on their day. So this could be a usable perk if adjusted. A little too strong, but I can get behind this. Only 2 changes I would make to give the killer 4 tokens. Why would you give the killer 4 tokens? That gives them the ability to put one in basically all the corners of the map and one in the middle, and they will have full map. A full map of exhaustion status effect. Each at 32 meters apiece, 32 meters. Goddamn. That's what I put it down to. Well, I put it down to 20 and then with a couple of seconds. Like 3 seconds. 20 meters and then 3 seconds to be 32 meters. I'm still on that 35-meter radius on all of them. So no, do not give the killer 4 tokens because now they have nothing to work for. But take away gaining tokens after someone dies. That would be dumb because then you just have 4 tokens that you can use whenever and then they're just stuck there. That's not a good design change. And limit the ore reading of tokens to within 32 meters. I think that would be strong but fair. 32 meters is not fair. Again, it would take a survivor 8 seconds to run out of that particular aura. Then on top of that, they'd have 25 seconds of runoff from that. That's not fair at all. Because if you're being chased by the killer, then you're never going to be able to use any of your exhaustion perks. And if the killer's smart, he would let the survivors waste their time destroying the totems. And then he would 3-gen situation the remainder of the lobby and just patrol the 3 closest generators to one another. And then set up a totem that's anywhere near or anywhere in between those particular generators. So towards the end of the match, they no longer have access to any of the perks that would cause the exhaustion status effect. So once they're tagged, they're kind of just fucked. If the totems are destroyed, they can't use Circle of Healing or anything to heal themselves faster. And self-care got a huge nerf. So they would have to rely on finding med kits and shit like that. So, I mean, you can spin that different ways, but you don't want to give them a huge amount of radius. This is not a good balancing change. Close, but no cigar. You overlooked the main thing. I understand what you're saying to limit it to 32 meters, but you need to limit the entirety of it to 32 meters, like I did, as opposed to just limiting the effect to 32 meters, 20, and then 3 seconds afterwards to make it a total of 32 meters that they would have to basically waste in time sink. They can stay at the edge of the 20 meters and then wait the 3 seconds and all of that, and then they're fine. But 32 meters, they would have to go that entire way. It's not good. My opinion, any perk that benefits from tunneling a person out of the game is unhealthy. How does this perk benefit from tunneling a player out of the game? That's why you start with 3 tokens. You don't have any need to tunnel a player out of the game if you have 3 tokens. If the survivors elect to go through and break all the totems and all of that shit and continue playing, you're not going to tunnel survivors out just to get another totem that you can rekindle. You have more pressing issues than that. This is not a tunneling perk at all. And if you're using this particular perk to tunnel, then you're going to have a hard time trying to play the particular lobby. Because in that case, you're not going to have to worry, because the only thing the survivor's losing is any of the perks that can't be used in the exhausted stats effect. It's not affecting them in doing generators or anything like that. They can still do gens while you're over there doing your bullshit tunneling. They're gonna just do gens and they're gonna continue to be on their way. Granted, it's 90 seconds now, so you have a little extra, like 50 extra seconds of leeway time that you can fuck around while all of that's happening. But still, if they decide to gen rush you or anything like that, they're just going to boop, 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 done. One thing that you can add to this particular thing that I forgot about that I was going to say is you need to put a limit, and I thank you for reminding me. You need to limit the max amount of tokens you can have at one time being 3, or the maximum amount of tokens or totems that you can have active at one time. Limit that shit to 3. If you're worried about tunneling and all of that, just put a limit on the amount of tokens. So if he does tunnel and kill somebody out with 3 tokens, he just lost a token. It's gone to the void. Simple. You don't dive at the direct issue. You make things to go around the particular issues. I think I was on like 4. Yeah. Nancy Downs, the craft killer concept, updated. Okay. I thought that said ultra rare Twitch add on, and I was about ready to just leave this post. I don't have to go through all of this. You got the power of mana, and as soon as I seen that, I'm like, yeah. Or Munum. 2-second charge allows them to float. Hook survivors with lightning. Lightning strikes. And something about screaming. What the fuck was that? Oh, that's cool. Just show all of my personal information. That's cool. Whatever. It's too late now. It's not, but I'm not ending stream. So I'm just gonna hit the back button and go to the next idea. That's not something I need to go over. This seems to be very, very thin. So instead of going over this too, I'm going to go ahead and say what I generally say. This is probably not very well thought out. It probably doesn't have a lot of thought into it. It's probably full of holes and a lot of exploits, things like that, and probably ends up being too OP. I don't really need to go over something this short, and I'm not going to waste my time on it. So I'm just going to head back. I'm going to be very choosy. I have 4 pages worth of shit to go over. So if it's not, it doesn't fit the bill, it goes in the trash can. Again, way too short for me to care about. Next. Too short to care about. If it's not actually looks like it's, drawn out, very well thought of, I'm not going to take the time looking at them, guys. Like, you see, that looks nice. And that's all for a survivor? Is that what I've seen? No, it's a chapter idea, Cult of Poems. Survivor perks. Boom, boom, boom. Killer information. We got one paragraph. We got two paragraphs. So we got a paragraph explaining one power, a paragraph explaining the second power. Then we have things to talk about, things that come out. And well, hey, I got a shout out. Shout out to QTASTIC for the idea. Look at that. Special ability, channel shackles. We got another ability. We got a lot of perks, things like that. Nice. Hell yeah. So we'll go over this one. Chapter idea, Cult of Poems. So I'd probably go over anyway because it's made by Ali Chips. Survivor, Dove Harper, gender, female, relation with the restrict, oh, the lover. Occupation, cultist apprentice. I'll give you a moment to read over the bio and all of that while I get some water. Dove Harper, after chanting with words of blood and energy, Dove knows how to survive situations and use injuries as an advantage with three perks. Every rose, deal with blood, and sever sense, or severe sense. Perks. Every rose. A life without art is no life at all. I feel as though I've went over this before. I don't remember. But I feel as though I've looked at this before. Every rose. You can now see the killer's instincts whenever it is activated. So any killer that uses killer instinct, Ghostface, for example, the artist is birds when they go near you. Um, Pyramid Head, Trail of Torment. Um, Legion, that's another big one that you would really like to see the killer instinct of when it's active. Etc., etc. So anytime that the killer instinct effect happens, you can now see, if you're being affected by it, etc., etc. Upon you being injured, every rose activates. Highlight all survivors that are within 34 meters for 6 seconds. Teammates heal you 30% faster for 60 seconds if they were revealed to you. I think I have went over this in the past. Or it has a very high familiarity to me. Either way, before Behavior decided to roll the fucking dice with all of their meta perks and shit, I would have a different opinion here. But now, this is actually amazing because they took all of the shit off of self-care and things like that. So if you get injured and you're near a teammate and all of that, this is actually amazing. It shows you where they are. Again, you don't need any type of aura reading for a long amount of time. So I'm glad that it's capped to like, a couple of seconds and then it goes away. Great. Teammates heal you 30% faster for 60 seconds if they were revealed to you. I also like the fact that it's a lower number and a higher duration instead of like 50% for 60 seconds or like Because I mean, the obvious would be like 50% for like 30 seconds, but this gives you an entire minute to get away from the killer if you can, and then find somebody and heal up. And it's at a 30% faster rate, which is great. I love the balance scaling and the thought that actually went into this. If everything wasn't all upside down, topsy turvy, I would have had a different opinion. But as things are now today, with all of the balance changes and all of that to the meta perks, this perks fits in good to fill one of the gaps that is missing. Deal with blood. Being injured within 12 seconds after leaving a gen. The gen you're working on regresses 55% slower for 30 seconds and is highlighted when the killer is near. This has a 40-second cooldown after slow to stop or perk doesn't go off in time. That is good, especially with the 1.5% immediately, coming out of the gen's ass when they kick it. And then Ruin being at 100%. This is now a good counter to Ruin because then would only be a 45% regression rate. So you're not losing a lot of process or progress on the actual gen when you're moving. That is nice. 40-second cooldown. It's fun. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Sever sense or severe sense is what I should say. Severe sense. Exhaust perks are 45% less effective. I don't know if I want my exhausted perks less effective though. Upon getting hit by a basic attack, reduce cooldown of perks by 18 seconds. I don't know how I feel about that. 45% less effective. Instead of getting, well, I guess it doesn't really matter that much on Dead Hard, but instead of having the endurance status effect for 0.5 seconds, you now go down to like 0.23 seconds. Like you only get a very, very small, brief amount of time. And for you losing almost 50% of a particular perk, I know this ain't the best example, but you reduce the cooldown of that by 18 seconds. So that'll go from that down to what, like 22 seconds? So, yes, you can activate it 22 seconds when you're not running. And that's the thing that gets me when you're not running and not activating that particular exhausted status effect. So, when none of that's actually happening, 22 seconds. And that's where I kind of have that meh situation on where, man, it's kind of rough. And then if you look at the perks that are like, I don't know, 3 seconds of running time, but have like a 60-second cooldown, you're going to be at like 1.8 seconds of run time, and then your cooldown's only going to be 18 seconds sooner, so you're looking at 42 seconds cooldown, but you've lost, the majority of your perk. Or if it's an efficiency perk, you run 150%, you're only going to run 105%, which is kind of negligible if we go by 45% less effective. So that one, on top of the perks getting nerfed and all of that, and this came out June 1st. I don't remember when the new update came out, so this could be pre or post, I don't know. But as I'm like today, this would be very bad because of their new system and all of that, making this perk kind of making this perk kind of more towards the bad scale than the good scale. I've definitely done this entire thing before. I've definitely went over this before. Yeah, the restrict. Definitely went over this before. Yeah, okay, I remember this. Gotcha. Gotcha, 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 gotcha. I have went over this before. Alright, well, I don't need to go over the killer part. Wonder why I didn't remember the survivor aspect of that. Hmm. Yamioka's burned into wood. I'm assuming it's the Yamioka map with just like a burn effect over the top of it, kind of destroyed and dilapidated. That would be some maps in Dead by Daylight would benefit from having like a destroyed and horror aspect, added to them. Not gonna lie. But that's part of that modernization, modernizing Dead by Daylight. It's a horror game, woods and forests and dilapidated buildings and things like that, which they already have, to be fair. It's scary. But when you're coming out with these new, like, good looking, maps that are a league above the rest of the maps, it kind of makes you wonder, when are they going to go back into the old shitty ass maps and add that into them and make them look amazing and all of that? And instead of having this, almost like cartoony style map that you're running on, especially if your shit's not pushed up to ultra, and getting this more realistic style redone, nice looking, more modernized look. Then you need to add the fear back into it and make it very, fear inducing. Yes, people play the game for the hide and seek, cat and mouse, the adrenaline and the endorphins and things like that. But I mean, the thing that really brings you in is the horror aspect of Dead by Daylight. So that's really what you want to look for. You want to add in back in the horror, have things eke and twist, and maybe even incorporate like a random 1 in 1,000 chance jump scare or something like that. Like the Easter eggs that they had on the Silent Hill map, Midwich, where if you did the generators in a specific order, you could open up the tower and all of that. Like things like that. You can add in Easter eggs. Call of Duty zombie style, sort of, or Dead by Daylight, Midwich style. That you can also add in a horror aspect, and you can add in, interactable items and things like that are specific to particular maps. Different types of pallets and different types of things that you can use to slow the killer down. Instead of having a pallet that you slam down, maybe it's like a chain dangling from something. So as it goes by, the chain comes out and, smacks the killer in the face. And then the killer gets an animation where they reach up, grab the chain, and then they pull it down, breaking it and throwing it on the floor so it can't, or throw it on the floor after breaking it so it can't be used again. Or breaking half of it so it can't be used again. So if you do have the perk to, pick pallets back up, they can refix the chain and, hook the chain back up to be used again or some shit. Or other animations. Well, no, after it's broken, you can't redo that. So, no. Fuck what I said. I'm being dumb. That perk just lets you pick them up after they've been pulled. So after it's been pulled, if the killer doesn't break it, just make it to where, you can slide that shit back and get it set up for another use. So yeah, have them break it and pull the chain off and like throw it on the ground angrily as a new animation and all of that. And have that put on, like another map. or all the maps if you want to, have different chains and different, types of things. Just add in variants. You don't have to design all of this new shit all the time to keep people interested. Sometimes just a small cosmetic change will incite, a little bit of happiness here or there. Replacing some palettes with hanging chains and have just a custom animation made off that. Now, I know they're not making a huge amount of money, so anything that they do, we are apparently multi posting again, but whatever. But again, instead of just making it always a palette that you use and, making an animation of you sliding across the palette being caught, maybe make things, ever so slightly, Somebody has a chain that's hanging up in the map, it could be a god chain that, has a different animation that after the chain's done, your survivor just, goes underneath the chain carefully. Or they grab hold of the chain and do like a little sliding motion to get through it faster or something. It'd be the same amount, but people are gonna take it different. Killer concept reflux. Denarin? Naren? This some shit from Conker's Bad Fur Day. That's what it looks like. Rayman. It's from Rayman. Um, Perks. Yeah, see, this don't have any type of thought process hooked into it. Everything here has been stolen from somewhere. I hope they credit it, or Mandy is gonna come clap them cheeks. Mandy claps instead of Mandy talks. Class of Revolution. I see. See, this is the thing that I talk about why I don't go over this. Power. And this is all double spaced to make it look like it's longer. But when you come down to it, that's all the power is a couple of sentences. One, two, three, four, five, six lines. You go to the perks. One, two, three, four, five, 6 lines. How the hell is your perk gonna have the same amount of lines as your goddamn power? And then we get into the lore, and the lore is longer than your whole entire fucking concept. If your killing power had as much lines and as much effort and detail as your lore had, then I would go over this proudly. I would be happy to. But when you have all of this lore and it's longer than all the rest of your actual concept, I'm not going to waste my time going over that. That means this is basically just a story for people to read. You really don't care much about, you know, the concept. You just wanted to get your story out. Lex Slasher, I'm not going to continuously go over any of your stuff. I asked nicely, like I said, you don't have to, and I'm not making you or anything, but when people post multiple times like this, especially in the same period, most of their concepts are just absolute ass and not well thought out. Not a lot of effort goes into them, especially when you're popping them out like candy, or like candy, like kids, one after another. I don't go over concepts like that. Now, I know you could care less, but still, it's just rude to anybody else that wants their creation to be looked at, to be pushed to the next screen, because people like Unknown Killer and you take up half of a screen. So now you're both on the screen, and anybody that's, on any of the other screens and all that get pushed back. Back when this was screen number one, you pushed everybody back to the second screen. If I'm new to the creation forum and I see all of your different posts and all of that, and I start clicking on them going from top to bottom, I see those, they're ass. I see his is ass. I might not even come back to the forum anymore. If you guys consolidated all of your different posts into two, maybe four posts between the two of you, the rest of this could have been other people's ideas. It's like everybody's waiting in line and you're basically cutting with you and your family right in front of everybody. It's not right. It's not fair. So, no, Lex Slasher and this unknown killer guy, I will never be doing any of your particular creations unless you manage to adjust your attitude. And one, I don't remember. For two, because even if you do adjust your attitude and you consolidate and you only have one post, I'll probably skip it just because. So again, we're skipping that. We're going to the shaman for the path of the shaman. I'm not going to click on that document. I assume that's lore because it looks like there's stuff left. This is a lot of stuff. That's funny. A lot of stuff, a lot of drawing, nice looking booty. I mean, like, that's like a very plump ass looking booty. This line right here is a little bit off, but fuck it, dude. You know what I'm saying? Booty's booty. But anything that you didn't draw or model or anything like that, you got to make sure that you give sources. Cite your sources. I think I've seen that movie. It looks familiar. I don't really know what I'm looking at right now. Oh, this is the map. Gotcha. These is pieces of the map and what they look like. Ah, gotcha. This is lore. So these right here is the powers. Okay. And this is the special things about it. So throughout this entire concept, you have perks, and then you have the power. Holy shit. And then you have the power. So if you want to look at this particular concept, and I mean, yes, work has been put into this and whatnot, but this actually has too much, too many pictures. You know, picture, 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 and then it has a little bit of subtext, picture, a little bit of subtext, picture, 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 picture. One, these pictures don't have to be this goddamn huge. I know you want to show the whole thing, but you can itemize these down to about, you know, this size. So about half. Make these smaller, put them up, and then make it to where you can click on it to make it go up the full screen. So you can itemize, and then from there, you can post all of your pictures within two of these screens, as opposed to having to go down and go down and go down and go down and go down, making all of this smaller so it all fits in only on a couple. Map wise, it's nice to see some pictures and all of that, even if the description is good or not. Being able to see what you're looking at is great because you can get a visualization of, how things are. One thing I would like to see that goes along with all of that is a map, because I can't help but notice. Only thing it is pictures description telling you what the tile pieces basically look like and buildings and things like that. The Bane building, the Killer Shack, things like that. And then I get an abandoned jungle with places like this, which could have some sort of verticality to it or not. Not entirely sure. You got everything situated, but you never give me a map of a particular area. And if you want to make it in an area like this, find a front on picture of this area, if this is what you're trying to look like, or an area, and then just get, a paint tool and dot where your generators and palettes and tile sets and all of that things are on that particular picture if you want to keep it picturesque. Or just draw out a map of the area so I can see, what I'm looking at and, where your designs are going. I know what it looks like, architecturally, but I don't know where everything's going in, so I can't tell you, if it's a good looking map or whatnot, because I don't know. I know what it looks like, but I don't know what the map reads like, I guess is what I should say. Or if it's even feasible to make a map like this. Whether it's a big map, small map, what it has inside of it, etc., etc. So a map could definitely be added to this, and then all of these other pictures can be consolidated to whatever topic you're talking about to make this a lot smaller. Looking at this, I don't think that the actual killer's power and whatnot's heavily thought out about. I think you spent too much of your creative energy trying to get things, drawn out and look cool, that you forgot to actually put in the extra energy in the boring shit, like designing the actual concept. I mean, don't be surprised because that's a lot of things that a lot of people do. They go gung ho and they make everything look great. And then you get to the core aspects of everything and it's like, bruh, where's the meat? Where's the thing that you actually came? Like the rest of the chapter looks good, but the killer itself don't fit into the chapter. There's not enough information and whatnot. um, I will go over this particular killer and the powers and whatnot, but I'm not going to go over much more. Again, it's chapter concept Path of the Shaman that you see on screen right now. Put that up in the search bar in the creation forum, and you can easily just pop this up and look at it if you want to. So, protection perk. Within 16 meters of an injured survivor, you can send a spirit guide to protect them instead of being in a dying state. They will suffer the endurance effect instead and gain 150% haste for 3 seconds. The person who runs this perk will suffer the exhaustion status effect for 40 seconds. This perk would go good with the other perk that was previously on the other one with the hex perks that give you the exhausted status effect. That would be a good counter to that if you adjusted this This would be one of those counter perks to give them, instead of protecting them and giving them the endurance status effect, helping them recover from the exhausted status effect and running it or spinning it in another way, or doing both. With all of the nerfs that happen in the anti-tunneling effect, to where when survivors get unhooked, they get that little bit of safety. They don't need to have the endurance status effect on top of that. Because after they get injured and you're within 16 meters, they have Dead Hard that can give them the endurance status effect. This perk can give them the endurance status effect and a speed boost. And if it's them coming off of a hook, they have the tunneling effect that would give them a little bit of invincibility. So if you're unhooked, you can run. The killer can't really do anything to you at the beginning while you get unhooked. Then you have Dead Hard that you can activate to get a little bit more distance. Plus, if you do get hit, you can activate the Call of the Spirits perk, which then gives you an additional endurance effect. So that person's basically invulnerable for quite a lot of time. And they get speed in 2 instances on top of that. So that's kind of a little ridiculous. You're basically just bringing back borrowed time at that point, but somebody else still gives it to you. The only cutback or drawback is you have to be within 16 meters. But I mean, if they are running towards an exit gate, you can literally hide behind a wall and just give them that particular perk as they're running. Also, you have to think about gank squads. If all 4 survivors are running this particular perk, one survivor that's on the hook can get that effect multiple times, as long as they're all by each other. You attach that with body blocking and all of that. The person that body blocks gets the protection from the guy that got unhooked. He goes ahead, you hit another guy, he gets the protection from another guy, and then they just keep body blocking and using this perk to basically go wherever the hell they want. So there needs to be some limitations to this particular perk to keep it from being exploited in gank squads and by survivors. Also, it's not really relevant, but you probably need to put that this perk cannot be used while exhausted. Because that's something that behavior generally adds in. Dead Hard cannot be used when exhausted. This is what they usually add in on particular perks to ensure and keep things from being exploited. You might want to add that in as well. Loot's Journey, an activation perk that allows you to interact with a hook. When a survivor is not hooked, you can interact with the hook and summon the survivor to that hook, if killer is face or proximity camping the survivor. It's not proximity camping, it's face camping or regular camping. Behavior has finally put their foot down on regular camping. Regular camping behavior used to say that's how the game was supposed to be played. But now here they are in 2022 saying that, no, it's anti-camping campaign time. We don't want you to do that shit anymore. Also, everybody else that told me that face camping wasn't against the terms of service or rules, go fuck yourself. I knew what I was talking about. Go fuck yourself. I actually looked that shit up. Anyway, summoning a person to a particular hook if the killer is in close proximity. Well, behaviors already put anti-tunneling things by way of decisive strike. And you now have a brief protection when you are taking off a hook now. So, all of that's been taken care of. Another problem that I have is the fact that you can literally use this particular hook teleportation perk as soon as the game ends. Okay, let's say somebody's running killer and they have this perk. and the rest of the guys open the exit gates and all of that. And the game's about to be, done. Whatever survivor that gets downed can just teleport or be teleported to a hook right near an exit gate, pulled off of that hook, and then they all escape, and the killer gets nothing. Making perks like this, to where you can just teleport, willy nilly, isn't gonna help you in the long run. It completely unravels what behavior done to try to make the game more playable for killers. They have a lack of killers, so they made the game easier for the killer side. Somewhat. I mean, it's bad for both sides, but they did make it a little bit easier for the killers, so people actually want to play killer side. This perk undermines all of that. I didn't even read the rest of it. Apparently, the 2 tokens you can use to be transported to the furthest hook you were on, or you can use in the struggle phase to be to a hook closest to the exit gate. And it stuns the killer for 5 seconds when you use this particular perk. The thing is, as soon as the killer hooks you, if you activate this perk, you can stun them for 5 seconds now. Immediately. So if the killer's in, a 3-gen situation needing to hook you and move, you can now keep them in place for 5 additional seconds. That and all of this, again, on 4 different survivors in a gank squad, isn't good. Or any survive with friends parties. It's not a good use. It would be different if you could teleport them just from a hook that was, the next nearest closest hook. Because even that's important, even in the basement, if you have like a camping ass Bubba or something, and he's sitting there on a hook. You can go to the other side of the hook, teleport that person over, then grab them using, whatever means at your disposal, and then use your iframes to get out of the basement with the new system. So teleporting to the nearest hook, however, there's going to be a huge penalty associated with that, kind of makes sense. And could be ran that way. But the way this is, it's way too strong for survivors. Way too strong. And should be thought through. Boon Guidance allows you to call for spirits to protect survivors and confuse killers. Once killers gets into the radius of the boon, they will hear a slight jingle of bells. Killer will suffer auditory noises and visual distractions such as generators popping, pallets dropping, even if there are no pallets nearby. Vaulting of windows, opening of lockers, blah blah blah. Once they get out of the boon, they will see scratch marks in every direction. Again, another issue that undermines all of the nerfing of perks. You can't have behavior go through a huge nerfing of perks just to turn around to send out a super good buff perk. Not a good idea. You have to go with the flow of the moment. If you don't want to nerf your perks, wait to see if they're going to, revert things back to the way they were, and then release it, or redefine your perks and readjust them to keep up with the current meta if they decide they're going to keep everything the same. Giving the killer hallucinations out of nowhere. Again, this is going to have a negative effect on people playing the rare killer role. Nobody's going to want to play that shit if, pallets are falling over, window vault sounds are being made, and a whole bunch of other auditory, things. Instead of making a lot of shit happen at once, why don't you just decrease, their silent step, actually? So there ain't even no point of even trying to adjust the perk to making the sound of everything less. I don't know. You're going to have to change Boon Guidance to do something different. Nobody's going to want to play against your particular survivor group if the entire time they're running around doing shit, hearing noises and things like that, hearing pallet drops and shit like that. Yes, it's kind of a waste of a perk slot, but it's also just an annoying perk. It doesn't give survivors any real advantage. It'll make the killer look that particular way. If it's a directional thing, if it's omnidirectional, then they're not going to care because it's going to come from every direction at once, meaning that it's fake. Two, you never said how often these sounds are going to occur. Are they going to be constant occurring? Is it going to be, once every 3 seconds, once every 5 seconds? There's no description about when these things are going to occur. So I can't even give an accurate assessment on whether it's being overused, underused, not really good, too bad, etc., etc. Since you put no time, I'm assuming that these are going to be constant things that are happening. Then we get to the Fury. Roar of the Tiger allows the Fury to charge a roar to scare survivors up to 8 meters, and a cone of 8 meters to fill up the survivor's fear meter. Do you realize that if it has I'm assuming, radius of 8 meters, the cone of 8 meters that you have is going to be inside of that radius of 8 meters. So you're putting a cone inside of a circle that's already covering the same area. So what I assume they mean here, and I'm going to try and decipher this, is if you fully charge this up, don't know how much time it takes to charge it up, you get an 8-meter circle. And if you partially charge it, you get an 8-meter cone. But in that case, you literally just have a doctor with both of his add-ons, the circle add-on and then the regular cone, both at the same damn time. At that point, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, beyond this being basically the doctor, let's see what else it does. The roar will also disorient survivors so they cannot vault or drop pallets, same that the doctor does. Oh, here we go. A fully charged roar will add 1 bar of fear. Heightening lockers is also useless but result in half a bar of fear instead of 1. Do they still scream or do anything or make any type of noises or anything while they're in the locker? Does it make them come out of the locker? Does it make it to where they can't come out of the locker? Is there any point in you roaring at lockers? What does it do besides just giving them half a bar, or is that it? Once the fear meter is full, survivors are exposed and cannot see or hear the Fury. Every 15 seconds, you'll see the aura of the Fury for 5 seconds if a survivor is terrified. Survivors can reduce fear by interacting with other survivors to reassure themselves. There should also be just a passive reduce in fear or something that they can interact with on the map as well. So it should go passively down by like doing gens or something as well as interacting with survivors. You want to have multiple sources of this since they're not going to be able to see or hear the killer. I mean, I, for one, wouldn't mind seeing or hearing the killer if I have that aura reading. Because, I mean, every 5 seconds, having the aura reading of exactly where the killer is a lot better And if you can get that aura reading bar filled, get hooked or whatever, and then keep that shit, then you know exactly where this killer is for the remainder of the game. Or you can manage to escape a chase. Then you can literally know where this killer is the rest of the game. Every 5 seconds, know exactly where they are. So if they start heading in your direction, you can quickly, GTFO, hide, or do whatever you need to do until the killer leaves. So after you've terrified one survivor, if they're part of a Survive with Friends or Gank Squad, they just call out your location the rest of the game, and guess what? You will have a hard time finding the other survivors. Or if you get the full lobby terrified, unless there's a, Enchambeau or some, amazing move that you can use or a bonus that you can use. All four people can just get terrified and then they all know where you are and get that aura reading instead. If everybody knows where the killer is at one point in time, then that's it. This is even better with Survive with Friends, because if they all have different cycles of which they can see your aura, they can have constant aura reading on you, basically going every couple of seconds. Again, good luck finding any survivors, because you're going to be searching your ass off. Even if, let's say, it's exactly like the doctor, because this is where I think it's going to. Let's say, even if this is like the doctor and there's like a scream or hallucination mechanic that the killer can see, you got to keep in mind that it's not going to matter as long as, they have the aura reading. As long as they outspace you and run everything efficiently to keep you from catching up. Plus, your character can go, there's basically can be invisible and all of that. So your average killer speed is probably going to be 4.4 meters per second, not 4.6, if not slower, because of the abilities and everything that you have. But let's move on before we make any type of assessment like that. Little minions. The Fury has two hags that roam the map and scare survivors for half a bar of fear. They can phase through objects, have no collision. Interacting them will make the survivor scream and reveal their location. During endgame, they start gliding with a brand full of leaves over their heads towards survivors. So now, you have a range like finding type of thing. And then at the end of the match, they literally fly towards survivors, revealing their locations to the killer. So you're definitely going to be at 4.4, if not 4.2 meters per second, just because of how huge of a advantage you're going to have over survivors now. And that's even after post nerfs from behavior to make people want to play killers more. But then there's more. The Beast. When the Fury has built enough fear, he can transform into a tiger, moving at 7.6 meters per second. So yeah, I'm thinking more instead of 4.4 being the first killer that has either 4.3 or even better 4.2 meters per second, because you keep adding in just more and more ludicrous things. Survivors are exposed 7.6 meters per second. Everything immediately breaks upon contact. No slowdown. Can't be stunned. Your vault speed's 100% faster. You can mori any survivors that you come up to. And this lasts for 15 seconds. But keep in mind that anybody that's terrified can't see you approaching. So yeah, 4.2 meters per second, if not the same as survivors and just being 4. Since they can't see you, you should be able to readily sneak up on them and attack them like a tiger does, like a tiger. You should be able to wait in ambush and pick up a survivor, especially if they can't see you. If we talk about that, 4.2 is probably a lot more lenient, but you would have to decrease the beast and bring that down tremendously to get that 4.2. You would have to basically crush it and get rid of it to keep a 4.4 because of all the things that you have. A little bit of speed increase is great for a 4.4, but that much speed increase with all of that stuff is ridiculous. It only lasts 15 seconds. That's what you're trying to make a balance. You get this super immortal form, but it only lasts 15 seconds. You only need 15 seconds. You realize that you can instantly kill a survivor. Instantly. Take them out of the game completely. So all you have to do is find a survivor and then use this. And boom, you've just completely taken a survivor out of the match just like that. Gone. Making it a 3v1 situation. This is why I'm hard nerfing your speed down to the same speed as a survivor. You should be at the same speed or slower than survivors because you just have this huge Mori thing. And the only thing you need to do to get this Mori effect is get within 8 meters of a survivor. And then boom. And on top of that, you have things that fly around that basically point out survivors. Because if they interact with them and do anything towards them, they scream. But wait, there's more. Burning incense sticks at the shrine. Sometimes survivors will need more than survivors' reassurance, which leads to burning incense sticks to help you, the spirit, get back to you. 3 to 5 seconds to burn. Once the ritual is done, you'll hear sounds of the gong, which will notify the killer where you are. So then, sometimes you have to go to a shrine to get rid of some of your fear, and when you do all of this, the killer's going to know exactly where you are. So you just have so many OP things stacked on top of each other that your killer should actually, at this point, be like 3.8 meters per second. Obviously, that's ludicrous and probably will never happen. Because, I mean, you don't have any super movement from the start like the nurse. But you are going to be limited to like 4.1, maybe even 4. Just the exact same speed as survivors, but probably 4.1, at max 4.2. And that's really, happening to adjust everything. All of this, well, all of this needs to be adjusted, and then you need to limit your speed at 4.2 meters per second. Because that's ridiculous. Like I said, not a lot of thought's been in that, and that would have been a lot more balanced if they spent as much time as they did on drawings and pictures and all of that, actually designing their actual concept. I wanted to skip it, but I decided not to because there was effort put into it. It's just misguided effort. Misguided effort is still effort. I'm not looking at the Google's Docs, all of that, because I don't want a virus on my shit. Do I even want to click on this? No. No, I don't want to click on this. Nightbot commands for Twitch streamers. Interesting. This is the wrong forum to put this in. This is for the creations. You want to go to the feedback and suggestions forums. Let's see. This is a command that will bring up the Shrine of Secrets. Why would I want chat to bring up my Shrine of Secrets? Are you talking about just listing what's in the Shrine of Secrets? Hmm. I'm going to assume that this is just showing you what's inside the Shrine of Secrets. The only problem with erroneous codes and things like this is if you've been running this for a while and he decides he's in a bad mood and he elects to change what's in that particular paste bin location to say a whole bunch of just bannable words and post bannable pictures and things like that. Somebody uses that command, Nightbot fires everything from that source, and then boom, you are permanently banned from Twitch for a whole bunch of other different things. This is why people don't generally go with things like that. Unless it's, an officially checked, credible API source that is backed by the actual company. Like if Dead by Daylight devs put out an API for that shit, then people would use it. But not some average Joe or some schmuck online that decided to make something and add, commands and shit like that. That's not trustworthy. And no Twitch streamer in their right mind would put their lives, their money, their livelihood, their bread and butter, their means of living into some random guy's hands. Killer perk roulette and all of that. I mean, these are things that already exist. The Shrine of Secrets command, the killer perk roulette, there's already an API and all of that made. And you can also make your own spin wheels. They're not that hard to make. So this can be made in one sitting and then added into an OBS. An OBS, an OBS scene or source. But I guess it'd be scene nesting. But that can be added into a scene. So when you activate it, it automatically spins and picks a random thing. That can be added in on your own. You don't need code for that. Shrine of Secrets, you can literally just have a command that opens up a website, or you can just nest that particular website into a scene. And when you click on it, pop up the Shrine of Secrets. Or, I mean, you can just open up the Shrine of Secrets in the goddamn game you're playing. You know what I'm saying? I understand giving it a command to Nightbot and all of that, and people are interested in Shrine of Secrets. They don't need to open the game, but I mean, ask the streamer what's in the Shrine of Secrets, look the shit up yourself, or check it in the game. Not the most useful. Survivor perk roulette. Again, you can have the same wheel for killer and survivor separate on two different scenes, and you can have it spin. That's something you create one time that you have forever, or you can download from online, or get it from another source, and then just nest it into a scene and make it yourself and call it a day. Random killer. I guess this is just information about a random killer. You use it in chat, and I guess it like posts a picture or something and tells you what they are or something. I don't know. There's not a good enough description. It just says bring up a random survivor, bring up a random killer. I don't know what this means. You need a description to everything that you have. Kill command. User 1 killed user 2 with a random Dead by Daylight related killing sequence. They already have these on Discord. And I think I've actually seen streamer use something like these actually live as well. So I mean, it's not, I guess the thing about it is it already exists. You were kind of posting things that already exist that you've, brought all into one place. Because I don't remember the goddamn word because I'm starting to get a headache. Terminator crap, already done. Raccoon City rework, created in Sims 4. I just want windows that you can jump out of and the ability to run around the entire outside of the map. That's all I want. You took away some of those infinites, but you extended the map out to have the outdoors connected between these two and this here. I want all of this to be connected. I want this connected with this, and then to have like some convoluted way to be able to get between these two. That might be a door. Ah, yeah. All of those are doors, so there's multiple ways out. See, now that's too many ways out. Adding in doors here, 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 and here, and here, and making them across. Well, this one's up. So that one's not directly across. That one's up and comes downstairs here. And that one I think was there in the front, right? Yeah, it's got two there actually. So there's actually one there and one there. And then this one has the exit that leads out here, but it also has an exit that goes here. So you can go out here, go upstairs, and go to the top floor. This being the top floor. I don't see the stairway. Oh no, it goes here to here, and it goes here. That's what's in. Okay. Um, yeah, that's how that's designed. It goes up to the sides, and then that immediately goes into a room, goes out like that. The only thing that's made different on RPD is that you made it. Did you add another upstairs area too at the very top? Jesus Christ. Is you made it open. You made it to where you can get through the map. You took away like the maze-like structure that this place had, and you've opened it to make it to where you can run through everything freely. And that's kind of a problem. RPD was made to be kind of maze-like for a reason. It's just when they did it, they designed it all wrong and made it all fucked up. Because now the hook placements and all of that weren't correct at the beginning and need to be replaced and a whole bunch of other shit. Then when you got stuck in particular areas of the map, instead of being able to, like I said, jump out a window and then be able to just walk around and go into, one of the two exits that it had previously and continue back into the building, you had to do like this convoluted path to go here, through here, back here, out here, and then you can go down some stairs and shit. Then, because it was like claustrophobically cramped, they didn't have a lot of places where you could actually play the cat and mouse game. It was you get chased by the killer and you hope to God that that pallet's there. When the pallet's there, the killer's completely stopped and can't really bypass that pallet except for a select few. They break the pallet, and then that area that you're in is completely useless now. Now you have to find another area. There's no training, there's no hugging walls, there's no anything like that. That area is now completely useless for the rest of the map. And the only thing you did by opening these areas to one another is if you're getting chased by a killer, you have to slam some pallets, maybe go around a couple of objects. However, you're still going to end up getting clapped because the killer is going to be on your ass the entire time till they catch you and get that hit. And I can't help but notice, but you never added in any pallet or gin locations in your Sim 4 map that I can like immediately see. No, there's a couple there and there. So no, there are some. It's just hard to tell from this upward angle. And I'm not seeing any place that, a full picture of the upstairs area with everything. It's just these side snippets. And again, from outside, you can run here to here, loop back outside, go outside this door, go this way, go this way, go this way, or go this way. You don't need all of these goddamn doors. You can go from door to door to door to door to door. This is not a very well designed map. Some areas you want to block off because you want to put a pallet across it or something like that. And when you're back here and the killer's on the other side and you're chasing around and all of that, getting ready to drop the pallet and whatnot, you want to stun the killer here and then be able to go off in a direction to where you can't get countered. If this door's not here and I stun this killer, I can now run out here, or I can go upstairs, or I can go outside and use a pallet that's outside. If I stun him here, I would be a fool to try to run outside, because he's just gonna stop, see that I'm going that way, and then go and cut me off. Unless I go in fake and then turn around the opposite direction. But I mean, the killer just has to basically stand here till he sees that you're coming across, then he can easily just cut you off and force you to go another direction. Or he can walk the 2 feet this way, see that you're not there, then turn back and go the opposite direction. Fakes are real. There's too many exits. It's nice that you redesigned everything and even retextured things to be, exactly what you wanted them to be. Oh, there's more pictures. They're not going to load quick enough for my liking. Unfortunately, I'm streaming, so I can't wait for all of these to load in. But there are a lot more pictures. So there are things. But yeah, you have too many open doorways. When you're designing a map, you have to design a map that's good for like a cat and mouse, hide and seek, generator style game. And the same thing, if you're doing a generator and there's 4 ways into a specific room, good luck. Because if you just ain't looking the correct way, you've just been gin grabbed. Or you've just gotten chainsawed or something like that. But thank you. I'm glad that shortcut's not available. Oh yeah, I got rid of Nox. No more Rocket League site swipe. Sorry, friends. That's something that'll never make an appearance again. I have deleted Nox, which is the phone emulator, and that's what Sideswipe was on. So, it's gone. I mean, it shit took 56 gigabytes to emulate a goddamn phone and then get Sideswipe and the 2 other apps that I had on it. Ridiculous. Either way, that's where I'm going to leave it for the day at about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I am hungry. I woke up, cooked a little bit. Now I have to go back in and finish that cooking. Because at the moment, I was tired, or in the morning, I was tired. So I only half fired it. Now I have to refire it to basically warm it up and finish cooking it. And it'll be done. I can finally eat. Either way, that's it for now. As always, supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you next time. I don't know when I'll be doing another Dead by Daylight review, but to all my boys out there, it's been a pleasure doing the reviews. I'm glad I've inspired some of you with some ideas. You can't win them all, but I take whatever small victories I can get, especially when it comes to reviewing things like that. glad to inspire you. Hopefully, you keep that up in the future when you make other creations, things like that. And I hope you keep that drive and motivation up. But otherwise, I'm hungry. I'm gonna get some food. Peace.